advice I would give to people that are starting co-teaching kind of begins with the very beginning stages of planning. Figuring out who is willing to do the work, who is willing to let that person in their classroom, maybe debunking some of the myths from teachers. At my side, they're very willing to give that a try, to work with somebody. They have pretty positive attitudes about it. I haven't really seen much resistance. I've seen, more than anything, I hear people tell me, can I get a co-teacher? I know I didn't want one, but now I do. And so that's great to hear. Figuring out who's willing to work together. And then what does that process look like to make it successful? And then, sharing those good stories, sharing those best practices with maybe those that aren't very interested in it or are reluctant, because there's definitely a need in the classroom. There's a presence in the classroom of student need, and being able to show maybe some people that are not believers of the work that it can help the students, and it can ultimately help them just be stronger educators as a general ed teacher, because now they have more capacity in the classroom to maybe go through a lesson because they have that person in there that can go around and meet the needs of those students who need more support. And so showing the highlights of it, showing the best practice and the good stories around how it supports students, I think is truly valuable for a school that's beginning the work, because a lot of times we're just not, if it's something we're not used to, we're not necessarily going to welcome it with open arms. But I had a teacher once tell me, I don't want someone else in my class. It was a gen ed teacher. I don't want someone else in my class. It's my classroom. And there was a vulnerability there. So we started with a push-in with her, and the special ed teacher pushed in a couple days a week, and over time she said, I want him in here every day. He's helping me immensely. So maybe starting off with just more of a push-in model for those types of educators, and then see how that grows, and then be willing to be flexible to adjust if it's not necessarily working, and finding that pair that will be more successful.